Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a longer series on actually from more or less a zero to making agents in Python. So it's going to help you as a starter video going into 2026 so that you know the fundamentals, or for someone who does not actually know how to get started because everything's moving so fast in technology. This video can serve as a great deal, like a basic introduction to actually what actually AI engineers do. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. So firstly, what I'm planning to make you understand is what exactly is the term programming or coding actually means. So programming can be understood as a very, like, black box model. You essentially, I hope you can see, yeah, you essentially write a bunch of like commands to a computer. It can be it can be a small like machine or a large computer, it doesn't matter. But computers expect us to write some commands and it follows the command. So what the programmers do is we basically write scripts and for the computers to run. So the script is what we program. The script, as like a script for a movie, it can be anything. It can be in any language. So that's why the programmers use different kinds of language like Python, C, or Java. But basically, a program, if you have to understand, from my point of view, is that it generally has two things. Like, for example, this is a script, and it generally, normally a program has two things. One is the output, and generally an input. So basically, the first few examples that we are going to practice along would not actually have inputs, but normally the input can be thought of as starting the program. It can be thought as like null input, like no input at all. So that is also a term in programming called a null or none value. So the input here can also be as simple as just clicking the program and starting the program. So no external another type of input is actually required. But in most, like in all of the cases that I've seen, I cannot remember a single case that the script did not have an output. So a script generally always have an output. So the output can be like a text, an output in the terminal. I'll get to what the terminal is. The output can be a text in the terminal, changing the files, running the machine learning models, calling up an AI, using the AI. These can be the output of a program. So this is generally what we programmers do. We write a script and give some inputs, and then generally produce some outputs. That's the actually main responsibility of the programmers are. So before we dive into what variables are, we discussed output and input. So that is what we are, like, will going to, like, show you. I'm going to show you what typically what an output looks like and how you can produce an output with a programming language. The programming language we are going to use is generally Python because it's the most simplest to understand for beginners, and this is the programming language that is widely used by the AI industries and the AI jobs right now. So there is like really no other programming languages that are being used at the moment. But if you want to really understand how software engineering works, I would suggest you to get started with programming with Python to understand how programming works. But under the hood, it's more like the lower level programming languages, the better you understand how programming works. But that's for another video. Um, so let's go into the coding screen and then we will take it from here. Right. So I have put up Visual Studio and installed Python. I have both Python and Visual Studio installed. I will not show you how to do that because there are plenty of videos available that actually does what I did, what I just explained. So I am going to open up a new file and name it like for video output video output underscore video.py. The important part that you can name your scripts anything, but for the Python scripts, the end it should be the end should be with py to indicate all coding editors that these are Python scripts. That's all. So I am going to show you how typically an output is generated, and this video you will also get to see what a terminal is. So let me write something. For example, let's print most basic is this line of code that you have. I think if you have seen other videos, you will also have seen this line, print hello world from Python. And this is actually the starting line that every programmer must do in order to, like, start learning. So I hope it's like the screen is big enough. Let me, okay. Cool. So now that's too big, but we do not generally need more than this. Okay, cool. So this is the first line that you can easily write and run it into a Python terminal, provided that you have Python and VS Code installed. So I am going to use this play button, but it can be done in any actually Python terminal. So just use the play button to run this Python script. How this Python script is run, we can discuss it in another video, perhaps an extension of this video. But generally, I'm going to show you how what Python generally does. So here you can see that this is the output, which is saying hello world back to me, because I have asked the script here to output this text. That's what I did. This is all this script is actually doing. It's a very, very basic script. So that's why when I run the script, it outputs hello world here. So what basically is this part? This part is known as the terminal. I can go into more. Let's go. This is the terminal for generally the Mac users. The Linux has a different terminal. Normally, like it's the same terminal, but they are named in a different way. You'll get to know more about terminals in a different video, but and Windows also have like PowerShell and command prompt, which are particularly very different from the terminal that we use in Mac or Linux, because both are Unix-based systems. So because different and same in a sense that the commands, some of the commands that can be used in a Mac system or a Linux system that cannot be actually used in the Windows PowerShell or the CMD environment. So this is actually a command. This is a terminal. So basically, back in the day when computers were actually did not have pre-interfaces like this, we used to I did not actually. I'm very new, but the early programmers used to use the terminal to do most of the tasks, because the terminal is actually the computer, because it can access and do most of the things that you can actually do with the normal graphical user interfaces. So this is actually the terminal. So that's why the most of the coding and the programming languages that we have actually takes input, like the basic input can be given from the terminal, and as well as the output can be shown into the terminal, because it's very easier to see, and that's where they typically live on. So let me just close it up, and let me show you how inputs work. So inputs in Python generally, let me here. So let me take an input, but the fact is, can I do it with a variable? Of course I can. So let me see what to do. So let me just get everything, and let's try input. Yeah, well, typically yes. Okay, so the AI suggested this. So let me just yeah. Okay, save this. So what I actually did, this is called nesting, not actually loop nesting, but actually nesting. We'll discuss nesting in a future topic. But here, what I did was give an input function, which is actually a built-in function in Python, and this is wrapped up by the print function. So whatever I input, which it will show you that specific name. So let's just remove hello and just yeah, delete this part as well. Okay, cool. So let's save it and then run it, and it will ask, like it is not actually complete yet, and it is asking. So let's just give my name. So it is actually printing it again. But you see that when I type, I can type directly into the terminal. That is how actually a very simple type of input can be given into this uh, into Python. But normally we don't actually use this input method, because we take input from the files. For example, there are files in this part of the directory that we like to read those files and make changes based on those files. So that normally we don't actually take use this input function. So we just normally read files and work on this. So let's move on.